the last one is San Francisco Public, and I'm giving Jill 9 minutes because she has 3 projects: Library to You, Digital Archive Kit, and Online Learning Project.
Did you say 9 minutes? So because I have 3 and I'm the last one to speak, I thought I would hand out this little analog report for you so that I can be very concise. So the first project was called the Digital Archive Kit, and our goals on this was a $15,000 grant. The goals were to make neighborhood history more accessible to patrons by digitizing the unique branch vertical files and different types of things they have, and then make them available online. Secondly, to develop a low-cost model, a simple process and tools that other libraries could use to do the same thing. And third, to engage our neighborhood residents in this activity of gathering and then digitizing and making available their own history content. So the outcomes, what I've done in this report is in that rad 70s font. Those are the outcomes, so they're not listed as outcomes, but the first one for this project was really access and engagement. I think we currently have up and running the Chinatown branch project and Bayview Hunters Point scanning. And both of these areas have really large, unique, deep collections that make the cultural communities really visible. And so that you see, like, there's one little clipping there that's from our Flickr page. One of the outcomes that I think really speaks to this project is that it harnesses a great deal of staff engagement, but also the community engagement. The neighborhoods are really excited to bring out their stuff and make it available, and sort of, pertinent to the discussion we had this morning, the opportunities for crowdsourcing, that you put up the stuff and then people start putting their own stuff and they tag it and they say, I was at that event, so it really has this opportunity for crowdsourcing on a larger online platform. And then lastly, we actually also have a bookmobile scan, so the mobile scanning unit is up and running as well. So the funding was actually used to purchase the equipment, and we built 4 kits to put out in the community. And the other big outcome is really a set of staff resources. So these are things that we'd be happy to share. The first thing, you will not be surprised, was a set of weeding guidelines, because a lot of our branches had very large and esoteric collections, and some things that the city archivist called trash, colloquially. And then also a set of priorities for preservation of historical materials. So it was a good training for the staff on what is worth preserving and how you would do that. And then we had training developed by the city archivist and our web team. And so we had 8 volunteers and 10 staff trained, and they're the ones now out implementing the digital archive kits. We have demos. Hands-on demos are the best, obviously, instructional materials and guidelines and procedures that we could share. So next, what this has actually made apparent to us is the fact that this is really worth doing and doing well. And so we're really revisiting kind of a longer-term structure to handling this content plus all of our other digitization projects. So we might be actually looking at a digital librarian position to help facilitate this. The next one was called our Online Learning Project, which was a multi-year project. This was a grant for $10,000. The goal was to develop a complement of online training tutorials that focused on career transitions and finding and getting a job. And so what we created was 2 tutorials. One is resumes and cover letters, and the other was about exploring career options. They're available in 3 languages from the website. English, Spanish, and Chinese, as well as fully captioned for deaf users, or if you just want to watch it in the library with the sound off, which is nice. So these are available, and the tech folks who put them together tell me that although there is some San Francisco specific content, it's actually quite easy to switch out certain slides, and it's actually, they're intended to be pretty relevant across the region. So they could be shared as well. So the usage so far is that we had about 2,000 hits in 6 months, or full views in 6 months. And we actually hadn't promoted it that widely, because one of the things that we did with this project was developed an e-learning strategy. So that's another thing that we could share, but is really about a bigger picture of how you do content curation of free and subscription resources that are available online, because there's a ton of stuff out there like the Khan Academy, and there's so many things that patrons don't know that's actually free to them. So our role is curating that stuff, and then also curating within that tracks that include in-person instruction, which is extremely popular still, and then looking to make more of these types of resources that are really original content developed by librarians. It's very time intensive, and I guess our learning from this was that while these were really great, we're looking at a different strategy to sort of get everything up and running, and this would kind of be the last thing you'd add. It's extremely staff intensive to create these. But we're happy to share the ones we made. Okay, and then the last project was the Library to You, and this was a grant for $27,000. The goal was to test multi-use portable devices, e-tablets, e-readers, PDAs, and with wireless access in our libraries, so that we could both do circulation and reference outside the libraries, as well as mobile reference inside the libraries, and do outreach. And so we purchased a whole bunch of equipment that's listed there. And the big outcomes were mobility. You know, we're now using iPads for reference. You know, it's mostly like lookups and quick things like that. But one of the really fun things has been able to go out to the schools and actually issue library cards on the spot and then check out materials on the spot, which we hadn't been able to do before. Maybe some of you guys could do that. The searching and reserves at community fairs, we go to Pride, we issue library cards to all the fabulous people at Pride Fest, and all the different heritage days where you're really reaching an audience. Although we have a very diverse city, we're not always reaching all the different communities. And the other big area was capacity building for staff, because e-readers kind of blew up during this time in terms of popularity, and so our staff really needed those tools to have our own kind of petting zoo. So we had public weekly trainings at 8 branches and the main, and then now we have structured and drop-in sessions at the main and monthly at 4 branches, or bi-weekly. And you'll see there's a photo there of, we had a really nice story in the Cron about our program at the Bernal Heights branch that kind of raised awareness about the service, as well as about the issue of how public libraries can't get ebooks. So that was good. And then lastly, just a whole slew of training materials developed and available. So there's bookmarks, and you'll see a bunch of them on the bottom of the sheet, so you can see what they look like, that talk about how to use e-readers and the 6 most popular devices. There's online tutorials for ebook devices, staff mobile device toolkit, lending model, and training plans were all developed, and a collection of best training resources available online. Thank you.
I know you can contact any of these folks, and they'll give you more information if you want to steal their ideas. I know I wrote some notes for myself. I know we've gone over, but I think it was really great to hear from all these Bayless libraries and what they're doing. I kind of wish the outside world were here to, know libraries aren't dead. I mean, we're obviously doing some really exciting things, and I just applaud you all and applaud all of us for all the wonderful things that we're all doing. Last here is if there's any members of the public or the group that would like to comment on anything that's not on the agenda, now is the time to do so. Hearing none, I adjourn the meeting and invite you to lunch.